F1 Manager 24 for round 9 of the 2024 season, the Italian Grand Prix. That is where we are. We are over halfway now. We are in the second half of the season, and this is what our grid looks like for this race. Carlos Sainz in a McLaren, George Russell at Mercedes, Lando Norris at Haas, Fernando Alonso at Aston Martin, Lewis Hamilton at RB, Max Verstappen at Sauber, Oscar Piastri at RB, Kevin Magnussen at Ferrari, Esteban Ocon at Red Bull, Alexander Albon at Williams, Daniel Ricciardo at Alpine, Valtteri Bottas at Alpine, Pierre Gasly at Ferrari, Nico Hulkenberg at Mercedes, Sergio Perez at Aston Martin, Charles Leclerc at Sauber, Lance Stroll at McLaren, Zhou Guanyu at Haas, Yuki Tsunoda at Red Bull, and Logan Sargent at Williams, which means that at Williams, which is the team that I am taking part of, I'm using here for this season, we have our original drivers back again. Now, getting started, we're going to offer a contract proposal for Marco Peroni again, because he came back with a bit of a counter offer, so we're going to pretty much give that exact counter offer back to him, see how that goes. We're also going to do our first lot of research for the 2025 season, so researching a front wing upgrade for next season. And although we're getting a bit low on money after we do this, we're going to get a rear wing design going for this season. We're then going to approve this budget thing, which is going to cost us $1 million, but hopefully it will help us out in the long run. It means that we have less than $1 million left now of money, which is a bit on the low side. And we now go into our race targets for this Italian Grand Prix. Don't believe I've put any upgrades on the car going into this race, because we didn't have anything new come through into this one, because we are starting to get a little low on money here and there, which could be a bit of a struggle later on. Looking at the R&D chart, the performance chart as they call it in this game, as you can see, Williams down the bottom there, just underneath the grey of Haas. We are still a bit behind Haas. We had that moment where we caught right up to them. We've now kind of stayed around about level with them again, and nobody really bringing any big upgrades to this weekend. Now, Q1, Logan Sargent currently in the drop zone P19. Albon is up there in P10. He should be safe here. Sargent crosses the line, goes P14 with only one driver of Lando Norris still to go. He does manage to get through to Q2. So both our drivers through to Q2, which was a little bit of a surprise. I expected Albon to get through. Sargent, I wasn't so sure about. He's in car 1. He's in the main car, although both cars have the exact same upgrade, so they should really be level with each other, so that shouldn't really matter. Q2, and as we get into the fastest lap here with Albon, because neither driver unfortunately makes it through to Q3. As you can see at the moment, Sargent's actually ahead of Albon in P11. A very good job for him there. You can see both Saubers have actually made it into Q2 as well, of Leclerc and Verstappen, two very good drivers at the weakest team on the grid. I think Alpine's actually technically the weakest team on the grid at the moment, but yeah, Sauber's definitely been nowhere, but they've got Leclerc and Verstappen, so a good driver lineup for them. I wasn't so sure going into this one with the driver lineup we have. I had some confidence in Albon, but Sargent, I wasn't particularly enthralled by. Of course, this is the exact same lineup we had at the first round of the season in Bahrain, because this is the original Williams lineup, although now Albon's in car 2 and Sargent's in car 1, when it was the other way around originally. But yeah, it was definitely yeah, I didn't, after scoring a double points finish last time out in the Netherlands with Ricciardo and Sainz, I wasn't really massively confident this time around, as we have a very close moment there with, I believe that was an Aston Martin around the final corner. Albon goes over the line, and unfortunately he does not improve because we lost time in that final sector, and Sargent's going on here for another lap. He is going quicker through the first sector, but then he's only yellow through sector 2, so I mean he's less than a tenth behind Perez in P10 there. So could Sargent make it through to Q3 here? And I mean, he's already going to outqualify Albon, which is pretty crazy to think about. He has perhaps a slightly better final corner. There's cars ahead of him, but I think they're not going to get in the way. They're only going to maybe help him with a bit of a tow down to the start-finish line, but unfortunately he cannot improve, and both our drivers are out in Q2. It is P12 and P13 in the end, but Sargent does outqualify Albon, which is a bit of a surprise to me, I will be honest. We do beat both Saubers though, and yeah, I didn't even mention both Mercedes were out in Q1, so that was a massive shock for them. End of Q3, it is Esteban Ocon who will start on pole position for Red Bull, ahead of his teammate Yuki Tsunoda. Gasly P3, although he has a grid penalty. So does Carlos Sainz, our championship leader, in P5 in the McLaren. So let's see what's in store.
Well, it won't be long before the drivers hit the track for 53 laps around Monza, in what should be a fast and fantastic race.
Monza has seen some incredible moments in the past. Pierre Gasly's unexpected 2020 victory reminded us of how wonderfully unpredictable this sport can be.
Monza, a centurion among circuits, dripping with motorsport history. Expect to see cars fly by, as 80% of the track is tackled at full throttle. It's not all go, however, and brakes can be prone to overheating through the tight chicanes that Monza has to offer. Tension continues to build here as race day begins.
Here we have a look at the strategy for this race. It is going to be a simple one stop from medium to hard. Quite a bit of tyre wear there, as you can see, especially on the mediums. But we'll see how things go. We'll see if there's any safety cars or anything, if that changes things up.
Welcome back, everyone. The final preparations are now being made as we head into the race. And a chance for Nico Hülkenberg to prove a point today.
They'll be disappointed to be starting 16th. The top 10 could be a very big ask from this far back.
This should certainly be a good one, folks. Here we go. It's the Italian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Here we go for this Italian Grand Prix, starting 11th and 12th. Thanks to grid penalties, it's really just for Sainz that have had an effect here. Gasly is still in the top 10. As we look at the front here, Ocon has managed to keep the lead at the start of this race. Our drivers are battling with each other off the line here, which isn't amazing, although I wasn't sure what to do here because Sargent did outqualify Albon, but I have more faith in Albon to get past Sargent. He's already putting quite a bit of pressure on him here down into the next chicane, but at the moment Sargent has managed to just about stay ahead at the front though, and Tsunoda is coming for Esteban Ocon. The two Red Bull drivers already pulled out over a second gap on Magnussen in third in the Ferrari. Tsunoda can't quite get past into the final quarter, but he's going to have the better run down the main straight and into turn one. No DRS available yet, of course. It gets enabled this round, as my engineer, Albon's engineer, is saying. But down the straight here, nobody has DRS. Tsunoda, though, on the inside, he's going to try and brake later than his teammate. He does brake later, goes for a bit of a dive into turn one. The two Red Bulls side by side through the first chicane, and I think Tsunoda's gonna just about inch ahead. Yes, he is. That is now Yuki Tsunoda up into the lead, although Ocon is still there on the outside, still trying to hang in. Yeah, he's still there. He might dive back up the inside into the next chicane. He kind of does. Not a massive dive there, but in the end, Tsunoda manages to stay ahead and keep that position. Logan Sargent now is actually starting to show a bit of pace. He's now getting past Sergio Perez in the Aston Martin round the outside of that corner there. Perez still on the inside, but in the end he will just about brake later and get past Checo. Carlos Sainz, on the other hand, championship leader and of course the winner of 2 races this season, is making his way through the order after his grid penalty. He gets past our other driver of Alexander Albon and is now up into P12. So Sainz trying to make an impression in that McLaren. Sargent is actually doing pretty damn well at the moment, as now he's in the top 10. He's got Zhou Guanyu, the car, ahead of him, and he's going to dive up the inside of the Haas into turn one. Zhou is going to try and fight it, but Sargent on the inside here, round the next corner. Zhou tries to then switch to the inside, but Sargent will get the position. However, now Sargent with Sainz there on the inside making a big lunge through the order, and actually Sargent gets pushed a little bit off the track. That also lets Zhou Guanyu back through again, and Logan Sargent drops back out of the top 10. So a few good positions there, a few good overtakes, but he's now back down to P11 and now over 2 seconds behind Zhou. The two Red Bulls are still a fair way out in front of Magnussen, 1.5 seconds behind. Ocon now going back for the lead on Tsunoda. These two guys having a great little battle here. I don't think either of these guys have won a race. Ocon's been close a couple of times to winning a race, but I don't think he's won a race. I may be wrong about that, but I don't think Ocon's managed to quite win a race yet. Tsunoda definitely hasn't. He has been on the podium, I believe, once. Sergio Perez now gets back past Logan Sargent. So unfortunately for Sargent, things are starting to fall apart a bit, and that is giving me the opportunity to let Albon past his teammate. So now Albon, the lead driver here, I believe he has more pace. Then we have this massive scrap here for P3 between Alonso, Magnussen, Gasly and Oscar Piastri in the RB. It is 3 wide, almost 4 wide into turn 1 here. Gasly's actually managed to get ahead of this group, so he's now back up to P3 after his grid penalty. Albon now trying to make moves. He's now gone for the move on Sergio Perez, who overtook Sargent a little bit earlier. Albon manages to get past him. So finally, after a bit of a slow start for Albon, he's starting to make some moves, but the battle with Perez will continue on. Then we have Kevin Magnussen behind the Aston Martin of Fernando Alonso, goes for a spin around turn 2. That is very unfortunate for the Ferrari driver this race. Going for a spin, thankfully no damage there, but that is going to completely screw over his race. We still have the battle between the two Red Bulls, who are now 4.5 seconds up the road on only lap number 10. This time, once again, Tsunoda got into the lead. Ocon's going back for it once again into turn 1, and this time he's got the position before they even get into the corner. That is Ocon back up into the lead, but these guys are just going to keep swapping around from lap to lap. And actually, on this case, I think Ocon's used a bit too much of his battery. Tsunoda comes straight back through at the next corner, so he's already back up into the lead again. So, yeah, not quite working out there for Esteban Ocon. Lando Norris in the Haas had a poor qualifying, but is now right up the back of our drivers and is actually now going past Alex Albon and around the outside. Easy move into turn 1 for Lando Norris. And I mean, Haas are our big rival this season. We're only 1 point ahead of them in the championship at the moment. And at the moment, well, this current point, they're scoring 3 points, scoring points with both their cars. So we really want to try and make sure that doesn't happen, or that we can at least get a point or two out of this one. And Albon at the moment is the one to be battling. Sargent's a bit further back here, but we're all pretty close in this battle. But Albon and Norris side by side as they head down to the second chicane. Albon on the outside tries to brake later, still alongside Norris here. It's a great little battle between these two young drivers. Albon on the inside, Norris though with a bit of a better run around the outside, but I think Albon's just about going to get past. Norris is still trying to hang in there on the outside, and actually will now pick up the DRS and is still side by side with us. So he is now going to blast back past Albon again. Looked like we got the move done there, but unfortunately we didn't. Now Perez is going to try and get past Albon. You've also got, that is, I think, Magnussen, who managed to get back past us after his spin. Norris is behind us once again. There's just a lot going on here. I'm not going to show you every single overtake, because this video would go on forever. There's a lot of just backwards and forwards. After Perez kind of ran off up the road, so did George Russell, another driver who had a very poor qualifying. It's now back to the Albon and Norris battle. Verstappen's right behind us here as well in the Sauber, having a look for a way past. We really don't want to let him pass, because that Sauber is quite a bit slower than us, but we are really just slowing each other up here with Lando Norris. This time Norris is on the outside, Albon is on the inside. We're going side by side through this right-hander once again here. These guys having some great wheel-to-wheel action. Sargent is now 4.6 seconds behind this group, so he's fallen back quite a bit here. But Norris this time just ahead as they come into this next corner. Albon still there on the inside. They're still side by side, but Albon will get past. However, I believe Norris will quickly get past again with DRS. Then Verstappen manages to get past us. He's also now fighting with Lando Norris. And then Albon goes for a spin completely on his own. That is not going to help him whatsoever. That completely puts us away from that battle. Hulkenberg goes past, Sargent goes past as well, and Albon's now down to P17. We think that this is a good opportunity to now come into the pits for our set of hard compound tires. It's a couple of laps earlier than I would have liked, but you know, we kind of worn those tires down with that spin, and then a lap later we might as well bring Sargent in as well. Albon is now P20, Sargent is now P19, so it's been a pretty poor time there. However, when a few other cars come in, the two Alpines come out behind us, and I believe Leclerc in the Sauber is also behind us. Sargent then gets past Hulkenberg, who's having a pretty torrid race here in the Mercedes. Terrible qualifying. I think he qualified literally... Oh no, I think Russell was last. Hulkenberg was, I think, 16th. But now there's a safety car. We've managed to get up to P15. There's now a safety car, and oh my god. It's Sargent. It's Sargent. Something has happened to Sargent. He's just pulled up at the side of the road, and I actually couldn't find a replay that showed exactly what happened to him. He had some floor damage from somewhere. I'm not sure where that came from. I think he just ran over a curb badly at some point. So I don't know if that has given him an issue elsewhere. Anyway, Albon is now going to come into the pits for a soft compound tyre change, because we might as well towards the end of this race. And now Ocon will restart this race from behind the safety car. He's still on the hard compound tyres though. Tsunoda behind him is on the soft compound now, so this could really switch things up here. Albon's in P16. We're going to see if we can do anything with him, but already into turn 1, Tsunoda's going for the move on his teammates. Down the outside he goes around turn 2. Great moves there, but Tsunoda is quicker on those soft compound tyres, and Ocon could now be vulnerable to Pierre Gasly as well in the Ferrari. There's now a yellow flag behind again. Albon saying that he's got no power. He's going for a move on Hulkenberg, but he's saying no power. There's now a crash. Don't tell me this is involving Albon. What has happened here? And it is. We head round turn 1. A little bit of an argy-bargy round turn 2. And as we go round turn 2, Albon gets a bit of a slide on. He's actually caught by Hulkenberg there. He's going for a slide, a spin, just like he did earlier. But with Hulkenberg there on the inside, he actually manages to catch his car and prevent the spin from happening. But that has not helped us out here, and it's given Albon front wing damage. Albon has got damage to the front wing. We're going to have a look here at this damage, just trying to figure out what the hell can we do here, because, you know, if we come in, we're going to be completely screwed. It's minor damage to the front wing, and I think, you know what, we've just got to, you know, keep this going. As you can see, there's a bit of a chunk out of the front left end plate. There's no point pitting now. We're just going to come out dead last. There's going to be no point, so we might as well stay out. Although Albon now has a 5-second penalty for that collision with Hulkenberg. This is not going well for us. He's made it up to P13 though. He's making moves, and all of a sudden out of nowhere I look, and Carlos Sainz is now in the lead of this race. I don't know where that came from. He's still on the hard compound tyres. He somehow managed to get into P1. Ocon's dropped down to P4 on those hards, but for Sainz, it's really working out. Now Albon's going for a move on Norris. Albon has good pace here, even though he's got that damage. He's going for a move, but then he has contact with Norris. He makes contact with Norris, gets completely put onto the sand trap, the gravel, and now he's down to P17. It's another collision for Albon. No penalty for that one, but now we're in P17. We're 7.5 seconds away from Hulkenberg. We have a 5-second penalty. There's no way we're doing anything in this race, so I decide I'm going to retire the car. There's no point continuing. We might as well save some of our components and retire Albon, which means that we're going to have a double retirement in this race. Both drivers out of the Italian Grand Prix. It is complete... It's the complete opposite to the Netherlands last time out, where we scored double points. We now have a double DNF, 19th and 20th for our drivers. What a disappointing weekend this has been for Williams. At the front, and there's still a battle going on right to the final lap here, as Gasly and Sainz are actually the two leaders as we head on to the final lap. Gasly ahead, but Sainz manages to get past down into turn 1 in the McLaren. Could Sainz go on and win his third race of the season?
Takes the win.
There'll be celebrations tonight after a performance like that. They've done themselves and the team proud.
And yes, he does. That is what happens. Sainz wins his third race of the season.
And Carlos Sainz heading up to the podium now, the Spaniard adding another to his record.
A third win of the season has to leave them and the team feeling confident.
And that, right there, is a picture-perfect end to this weekend in Monza.
Perhaps more surprisingly though, is that Lewis Hamilton comes third in the RB. Yes, RB are on the podium for the first time this season. That's a bit of a surprise. So good work from Hamilton there to get P3 in the RB. But yes, Carlos Sainz, he's going to extend his Drivers' Championship lead even more with another win here. He's looking pretty unstoppable in this championship now. Gasly, though, comes home for a very respectable P2. He's going to be happy with that after the poor start that he has had to the season. He finally is going to boost up some points here, and I imagine boost up some positions in the championship. So yes, Carlos Sainz is now, what, 90, 100? He's now 32 points ahead of George Russell in this championship. Sainz has a pretty reasonable lead in this championship now. And yeah, Gasly moves up to P8, P7. I think he did actually have a points finish last time out. Logan Sargent still last in the championship, of course. Albon also moves down to P11. Yeah, big movers on the bottom half there is Tsunoda moving up to, I believe that was P13. And then in the Constructors' Championship, RB move ahead of Aston Martin by 9 points in P5 with that great podium from Lewis Hamilton. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.